All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Destin City Council, November 15th, 2021, to order. Up first, an invocation by Pastor Kevin Wendt from Grace Lutheran. Pastor.
The Lord be with you all. Let us pray. Gracious God, Heavenly Father, from you comes all rule and authority over the nations and states and cities of the world, for the punishment of evildoers and for the praises of those who do well according to your law, for order, for justice. We humbly ask you to graciously regard these your servants in your city of Destin, these who make, administer, and judge the affairs of this city. Look with mercy upon them and grant them to bear the authority you've given them according to your command. Enlighten and defend them and give them wisdom and understanding, that under reasoned and peaceable governance your people may be guarded and directed in righteousness and peace. Protect and prolong their lives, that we with them may show forth the praises of your holy name. Bless those who interact and do business here this evening. Give them wisdom and discernment to please you and to serve their fellow man. We pray this in the name of him who is fully God, born of a virgin, fully man, to obediently live the perfect life, to pour out his innocent blood for the perfect sacrifice, to gloriously rise from the dead, the perfect resurrection and life, your Son and Savior from sin, ascended to heaven, and to return the last day to judge the living and the dead, Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Hey, Johnny. Mr. Smith. All right, first up, agenda approval. Is there any
I'd like to make a motion, sir, to change. I'd like to move consent agenda item 6 up after the proclamation. Is that a good plot?
6, which one, the consent agenda?
I'm sorry, I'm going to move number 6 after public comment to after number 3.
Okay.
So consent agenda
Second.
after number 3.
I got a motion, I got a second. No discussion? All in favor? Ayes have it, so moved. First up, approval minutes of October 4th, 2021.
Make that motion.
Got a motion? Any discussion? Seeing none? Ayes have it, so moved. And next, we have a special proclamation and recognition of Larry Ballard, who is finally retiring. And we've got a proclamation and a gift for him. And Lance, we'll meet up at the podium.
All right. Larry, I'm honored to be the person elected to read the proclamation for you this evening. So here we go. A proclamation of the City Council of the City of Destin honoring Larry Ballard upon his retirement as building official for the City of Destin. Whereas Larry Ballard's inspiring leadership broadened across the city when he accepted the position of the city's building official in August 1987. And whereas Larry created and structured the city's building division, and whereas Larry obtained all the required inspectors, plans examiners, and building code administrators licenses to perform such duties, and whereas Larry has been a tremendous asset to the city, those who have had the pleasure of working with him understand his dedication and commitment to the organization. And whereas Larry has provided the highest standard of service to the city for 34 years, demonstrating professionalism, courtesy, respect, and fairness, and consistently applying sound judgment and integrity to various assignments. And whereas Larry has been successful in foregoing positive working relationships with departments and individual employees throughout the city, other agencies, and citizens throughout the community, and now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the city of Destin, Florida, does hereby recognize and salute Larry Ballard on his illustrious career and well-deserved retirement following 34 selfless years with the city as its building official. Be it further proclaimed that I, Lance Johnson, city manager, and on behalf of Mayor Jarvis, and on behalf of the city council, and the citizens of Destin, do hereby recognize and honor Larry Ballard for his service and leadership, and thank him for a job very well done, and wish him success in his future endeavors.
And as a small token of our appreciation to a man that we will not be able to replace, his legacy and his knowledge is going to be tough shoes to fill for the next person. I just want to give you this token gift of appreciation from the city of Destin. And now you can't ever give any excuse for being late. It's a watch with a city logo on it. Thank you, Larry. Would you like to say a few things?
You want me to
Larry has seen and experienced a lot of change since he started with the city of Destin, to include regulatory changes on a Florida state level for required building inspectors licensing and building code changes, let alone the city of Destin's overall growth, which has played a huge role in ensuring that the structures that were built were constructed in accordance with the building codes. Prior to Larry's employment with the city of Destin, he was a school teacher where he taught shop class. There are many contractors that often state Larry was their shop teacher. So it comes as no So it comes as no surprise that Larry was a mentor to many individuals during his time with the city, to not only the inspectors that he hired, but to contractors as well, some of which have come back to him to thank him. I know for myself, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for this man right here. Thank you, Larry. On behalf of the city of Destin, we thank you for your service and wish you a happy retirement.
Working here has been a joy and the highlight of my life. I'm not leaving you empty-handed. The 6 people I'm leaving behind are all smarter than me, and provide them the training and the encouragement. You're going to have the best building department in the Panhandle.
Up next is our public, say what? Okay, next is our public comments on agenda items that are not on public hearings, and we do have 2 public hearings tonight. So if you have anything that's on the agenda you'd like to talk about, or any other subject matter that's not on the agenda, when you come up to the microphone, you have 3 minutes. Just state your name and your address for the public record, and when you get to about 15 seconds away, I'll give you a gentle reminder to wrap up your thoughts. First up.
Good evening. Carrie Harbaugher, Spring Lane. As we work into November, I noticed that our councilwoman, Prebbles, isn't here, but I want to say on behalf of me and hundreds of people in our community, she did what we asked her to do. We stand behind her, and I just want y'all to know.
Thank you, ma'am. Up next, anybody from over here? Kyrie?
He left the room, but I wanted to tell y'all, most of y'all know the story, but former Councilman Dixon and I had the pleasure of having Mr. Ballard as our shop teacher when we were in 7th grade at Meg's Junior High School. So you can imagine how old we are and how old he is, and he's a feisty old guy. That's all I can say. I have two quick issues to discuss. One, the metal plates on Airport Road, where I guess they're covering something up. If somebody in engineering can explain that one to me. And the other issue also has to do with another road thing. Yeah, so we'll take one at a time. I'm sure y'all are familiar with what I'm talking about. I'm just curious to see what the deal is and why they're there. We had some very bad experiences with some metal plates that were at the entrance of the Emerald Grand Harbor Walk, and the state got rid of that. And I was just curious if it was going to be permanent or if it's a temporary thing.
We'll find out. Get
Okay.
an answer to you.
And the second issue was an item that was on my plate when I was still on council, and that's the intersection at 4th Street, 1st Street, and Benning Drive. The way that it's set up, Mr. Burgess drew up a plan a while back, so if I could get somebody to revisit that again. I think we have a serious issue, especially during the summer months with all the boats and traffic going to the boat ramp on 1st Street. It's just, the intersection just doesn't work right. So if you all could look at that and see if we can come up with something. Mr. Burgess did have a drawing, a preliminary drawing of what could be done to make it up. So, that's pretty much what I'll have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyron. Start in the middle of the room, in the center. Anyone want to step up, make any comments, public comments? Seeing no more advancement to the podium, I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment period. I want to remind everybody that there'll be another opportunity before we adjourn the meeting for any comments that you'd like to make on tonight's proceeding, or if just something comes to your mind. So we've moved our consent agenda up as the next item, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion to approve, and I have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none? Vote is unanimous, so moved. Lance?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First up, we have a strategic plan update. So if we could put that up on the screen. Thank you. So 2020 and 2021 has been extremely busy times for the city of Destin. Council and our organizations has worked hard together to develop and implement an ambitious strategic plan, which we will briefly review tonight. Next slide, please. This slide briefly outlines the city's strategic plan. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get mine aligned there. This slide briefly outlines the city's strategic plan process, starting back in January, where we had our visioning session with council and staff and the public. We moved from there to adopting the plan back in July timeframe. We from there went to establish the resources we would need to complete or start these items during our budgeting process. And then at the end, we will execute, and we have begun doing that as of October 1, the beginning of our fiscal year. Next slide, please. Just as a reminder, a guiding principle was established a couple of years back, which helps staff prioritize when there are conflicts of our strategic planning items. And council did designate our year-round residents as our #1 priority, followed by our Destin-based businesses, and finally by our visitors to the area. Next slide, please. Our mission did not change during this, but it was reaffirmed, and it is Destin is a family-oriented beach and fishing community where people want to live, work, and play, and where guests are welcome to respectfully enjoy our community and its resources. Council also determined these 6 areas of strategic focus, otherwise known as pillars, to help guide our decision-making process through 2026. These are broad categories, #1 being financially sound city, providing service excellent. #2, a green and sustainable environment. #3, improved mobility and connectivity. #4, enhanced quality of life and safety for families. #5, economic development and revitalization. #6, effective, efficient, and aesthetically pleasing infrastructure. Next slide. New for this year's strategic plan, we assigned priorities for each objective. This will help staff and the council to plan and allocate the limited resources that we have to accomplish the large list of items on our list. The 3 categories are the critical priority. These are the most important to the organization, an objective that must be successfully accomplished within a specified amount of time, basically no matter what. Secondly, we have the important priorities, which is a priority that can have a significant impact on performance. The resources are fixed and the variable is either time or the objective. And finally, we have desirable priorities. These are priorities where both resources and time are variables. The organization desires an outcome, but we cannot absolutely commit specific resources over any specifiable time period. The resources for desirable priorities may be reallocated to important priorities or critical priorities when necessary. You can go there. Thanks. This is a review of our council objectives for the current fiscal year. And council's top priority objective for the organization is to offer livable wages and benefits to attract and maintain high caliber qualified staff. This is a shift in the way we do business. We have traditionally been known as the training grounds for others. We would take the people fresh out of college, get them trained, and then our larger neighbors to the northeast, south, and west would snatch them up, and we would have to start training a new person after that. So what the council has directed us to do is try to make it so that this is the home where people want to stay for the long haul. Council did approve a 5% COLA to help enhance this objective, as well as an up to a 2% merit increase for this fiscal year. We were also able to negotiate a new health insurance plan, which is a better benefit for our full-time employees. Our council also approved a one-time longevity award for long-term employees, and this has been distributed to the eligible staff. And most of all, we have a compensation study that is currently in progress. This will ensure that our staff is adequately paid. Our consultants have conducted focus groups and interviews with all staff and is compiling information for recommendations that should come back before council within the next few weeks. Another top priority, is to complete the 2-lane Crosstown connector through the old campground property. This is on target for 100% plans potentially being ready sometime in the late spring, early summer of this coming year. Our public beach initiative was very ambitious by the previous council, and this council has likewise adopted it. We started with a $2 million fund and have now reached over $22 million worth of commitment for this project. As you know, we have acquired 2 pieces of property, with a third one hopefully to be acquired in the very near term. Staff continues to look at other options to acquire additional beachfront property for our residents and our visitors alike. And we appreciate all the support that we've received from this council, from the county, and from the TDC on this project. Undergrounding utilities has been on the list of things that we would like to accomplish for over a decade. We took big strides towards beginning this project within the past few weeks by completing our franchise agreement with Gulf Power. We will also be doing the amendment that will control the undergrounding project itself. It does look like tentatively the first phase will be from the Marler Street Bridge to Airport Road, and that should begin within the next couple of years. So I'm going to get to actually see that begin. That'll be good. Zerby Calhoun Avenue Phase 2 is a pedestrian walkway under the Marler Bridge. It is currently in design, and the design should be coming back to us next spring, in the next spring time frame. Desirable council objectives. Make sure my screen is the same as the one you all can see. Is researching the viability of a convention center, multi-use convention center, sports and a community center, as well as city offices. Staff is in the planning stages of this, and council did approve $75,000 to use towards a feasibility study if they so choose to use that later this year. In addition, annexation has been on the list for staff to accomplish for many years. We are making strides, and we believe that hopefully within the next year, we will be able to annex in some of the enclaves that are currently just outside of the city district. Transit systems have been an ongoing desire for us to help alleviate some of the transportation problems and eliminate some of the traffic on 98. Staff is working with both Okaloosa County and Walton County to come up with some solutions that we hope to implement within the next few years. Large-scale city marina was brought up at our last strategic planning session, and again, staff has put $75,000 into this year's budget, of which the council did approve it. So if council chooses, we can do a feasibility study for the large-scale marina down at the Harbor District. Of course, an ongoing project for the city of Destin is to improve our parking situation. In October, council adopted a resolution to reserve paid parking funds for future parking improvements. We will be implementing improvements for the Zerby Cyber Street parking lot later this fiscal year. Another desirable objective is carryover from other strategic plans is the beach renourishment program. Staff is in constant communication with the TDC and their representatives. The TDC has a reserve balance for this purpose currently at approximately $15 million, and staff continues to monitor this situation and is regularly communicating with the TDC and the BOCC on this issue. Now we have the management objectives to briefly review. First, we have the critical objective for management, including balancing our resources with mandatory and non-mandatory projects and tasks. I appreciate council's support in keeping, sticking to the strategic plan so that we are not trying to find money for new projects that are unfunded. Another objective is funding for beach acquisitions to continue. Currently from the half-cent sales tax and committed funding from our partners at Okaloosa County, we have approximately $22 million, as we previously discussed. In addition to beach acquisitions, we have the objective to find funding for underground and utilities. And of note, the city has recently negotiated approximately $1.5 million for the next 20 years in annual funding from the TDC to be spent at council's discretion. Next objective is develop and implement processes for consistent and streamlined application of codes and procedures and by launching the Compass software program, we have begun that journey. We expect that over the next year that will improve even more as we refine our processes and do our plan, do, check, act each year, helping these processes to improve every step along the way. We always want to improve communication with both council, the public, and of course staff. And staff has added a monthly report for council that provides detailed project information for both the capital projects and our operational finances. Staff is also working on ways to improve communications on operational and strategic plan metrics on a regular basis by developing a user-friendly scorecard / dashboard that will be accessible to the public and council 24/7 and will present near real-time data to them on current projects. Regular meetings with council members and city manager and myself and my staff is probably the best thing that we've been doing to improve communications, at least between staff and the council, and I hope that that can continue into the future. The desirable priority for management is to establish a park foundation to assist with acquisitions, renovations, and maintenance of our current park facilities. In other places where I have worked, we have also used those potentially to receive donations of land. Management in progress through FY25. Memorializing institutional knowledge is something that we're trying to do by getting each department to write down their strategic items, their key functions, and how they accomplish those key functions. Renewal and replacement fund, council did approve a $2.5 million in this fiscal year, fiscal 22, as well as $75,000 for infrastructure and facility asset study, which will help us implement this correctly. Staff continues to monitor grants from the Restore Act for both for Royal Melvin and Clement Taylor Parks, and this is ongoing for fiscal year 22. And the signage control and wayfinding assignment has been undertaken by community development. These are in progress, and we'll be reporting back to council on this in the near future. Staff continues to work on improving the orientation of our board and committee members, and staff is improving sidewalks throughout our capital improvement plan. In addition, community development is working on a mobility study, and the city is completing an ADA evaluation and plan study. In 2021, Okaloosa County worked with the city to increase the frequency of beach cleaning within the city limits, and the number of complaints that I personally received have gone down dramatically. At some point, we do need to consider reestablishing the environmental committee. At one point, that was folded into the recreation and the tree committee, and I think that it is a charter item that we should either reform the committee or address the charter. It would be much easier to reform the committee. We will briefly now review the major projects identified in the strategic plan. As we already talked about the Compass, I won't go into more detail, but we did have the Compass initial implementation, and the initial implementation is complete. And our harbor capacity study is underway thanks to our friends in community development in cooperation with the Army Corps. We did discuss BTR fees. Also, Royal Melvin Heritage Park is moving along with help from a volunteer, Mr. Mike Buckingham. Appreciate his help in getting keeping that project moving forward. We discussed the Zerby Calhoun as part of the council objectives. Phase 1 was completed last year, and now we are, as we previously talked about, we are looking at Phase 2 under the Marlar Bridge. The median project is currently planning to take place is fully funded and managed by FDOT and is currently pending the bids. Noriega Point Phase 3 is, we are working with FDEP to revise the timeline for Phase 3 work to begin. The renovating of Clement Taylor Park is still pending the final approval from Treasury and County, and we will be redeveloping Joe's Bayou. This is another FDEP project that is currently in the design phase. A prioritized stormwater improvement plan was also approved by council in September. And last of all, for all of our capital projects, the Gulf Power Linear Trail, we have $1.3 million is projected to be available for FY23 through 25 if approved by council, and for both the design and the construction of this project. The world-famous pickleball courts has $400,000 budgeted for it this year, so we do expect to see some movement on that. We're also attempting to partner with the county, who is attempting to help us by purchasing some additional land that we could potentially use for that project. We have a brief review of the few objectives that were completed in last year. If there's any questions, we can answer those. And last of all, I would like to focus on the strategic planning process. In 2013, the city asked our citizens how we were doing, and compared to other cities throughout the through a citizen survey. This provided critical feedback on the city's existing initiatives and opportunities for improvement. As you can see, the survey produced 3 top opportunities for the city to address in the future planning. These 3 items have been addressed in a variety of ways and recently in our current strategic plan. Land use planning and zoning has been a huge issue for the city and has been recently addressed in building height referendums and our comp plan. Traffic flow remains a high priority and is being addressed in the Crosstown connector and recent improvements to Highway 98. Public transit is a strategic priority for 2022 and was addressed earlier in this presentation. In 2017, additional issues were brought forward by our citizens: street construction, reconstruction, stormwater improvements, improved pathways, transit service, and enhanced streetscapes are all major and long-term issues continuously being addressed in Council's strategic plan. Staff continues to execute the Council's strategic plan. We need to hear from our citizens this upcoming fiscal year to see how they believe we are doing. The citizens' input is critical to our ability to benchmark our efforts and our results. The citizens' voice will continue to guide future decisions by this council and future councils. Later this year, we do plan on running another citizen survey for our residents to respond to. The final slide, we have achieved a lot over the last year, but we have a lot more to do. We have an ambitious strategic plan. We have climbed great mountains to get here, but we still have taller summits to achieve. Continued communication with staff and council, as well as valued input from our citizens, will help us achieve our strategic goals. We thank the City Council for your continued support of our staff and for creating a vision that will continue to improve the quality of life for our residents, enhancing Destin's vibrant business community, and making us a world-class destination for visitors. Thank you, and I apologize for the length.
That's all right. That was a great update. Does anyone have any questions for Lance? All right, let's, seeing none from the council, go ahead, Lance, and we'll move on to the next item. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have a report from Mr. Baumann of the city manager's evaluation process with help from Mr. Warren.
Thanks, Lance. So at the last meeting, we discussed the changes that were to be made to the resolution relating to the city manager evaluation process. Those changes have since been incorporated into the resolution and the exhibits to that resolution. Most important is really the flow chart that describes the the timing of certain actions and how certain actions are supposed to take place. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Any questions for Mr. Bowman? This, we need to require a motion for this to accept?
Yes, you'd be approving a resolution.
Okay.
I'll make that motion to move.
All right, I got a motion second, Mr. Bagby.
I just, talking with the city manager, city attorney, and some others today, I want to change the, on the flow chart, the months. What we're working on is a plan to align our HR evaluation process, our strategic planning process, and our budgeting process so that it actually makes sense. And it's a strategic sequencing. Lance has got a copy of my initial cut, but the staff's going to bring it back at the next meeting, the first meeting in December, and that would adjust just the months. It wouldn't occur because it's never made sense that we give him his evaluation, the city manager, the evaluation in November or December, and then we always retroactively approve their pay raise back to the beginning of the fiscal year. We should have done the evaluation, and so that's what we're working on. Lance can pass those out. We don't have to change this now, but I will ask that we incorporate that change at the next meeting.
And that would just be an adjustment to the resolution itself. Okay, all right, so basically what we've got in our briefing document here is what we're voting on with the knowledge that at our next meeting, you'll make a motion, I'm assuming, to make that adjustment. All right, so anyways, is there any further discussion on this motion in a second? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote on it.
I'm sorry, I have a question. I'm not sure. Are we voting on
The
the
motion.
timeline that's in here, and then we're gonna
Yes.
change the timeline next time?
Yes, correct. That's what I
Okay,
just
so we're just
stated.
gonna, I heard you, I'm just,
Yeah, no problem. You good?
so we're gonna change the timeline at the next meeting possibly?
Just a
Okay,
month.
gotcha, thank you.
All right, so I've already hit the vote button. Ayes have it, so moved.
Thanks, sir. Next up, rules of procedures for city council meetings. Last meeting, council had indicated some changes they would like to potentially see come to our agenda, and Mr. Bailey has since made those and put those in a format for y'all to consider tonight.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
I got a motion,
Second.
and then I got a second. Mr. Bagby?
Just two items on this one. On page 5 of 13, number 2, the new number 2, public comments, I would ask that we change that to public comments / presentations. There have been in the past where the public came in and made presentations, whether it's the school or whatever, and they usually get 5 minutes during that period as opposed to the 3 minutes. So all I'm asking is that we change that to, it's not just public comments there, but public presentations. And then the other one in paragraph 6.3, which is on page 10 of 13, now that we're going to actually enforce this extraordinary vote to add something to the agenda or change the agenda, when we do that, I don't have a problem with that because that's Robert's rules, but what I do have a problem is that the public doesn't have the opportunity to weigh in on that issue. And that's, to have somebody walk something on the agenda, that's fine, but then we ought to open it for public comment just on that specific item. So I would ask that that be added to paragraph 6.3 on page 10 of 13, I think it's about the 4th line. Acted upon, only upon an extraordinary vote of the council members present and eligible to vote on the matter. If such a vote passes, here's the addition, if such a vote passes, then that measure would be open for public comment, period. Because,
Wouldn't you rather have the comment before?
well, yeah, well, it's got to be added to the agenda before they can have the comment.
But usually we do our agenda additions before the meeting really starts, don't we?
Well,
It's not required, but I think
it's not
it'd be
required, yeah.
better suited before the vote.
Yeah, oh, it would be before the vote. It would be before the, it would, Because remember, there's two votes. There's an extraordinary vote to add it to the agenda, then the item is debated. That's when I want the public comment. Then the item would be voted on. I just want it after the vote, the extraordinary vote, to add it to the agenda. I just don't want us to, I've seen instances where, how the heck did that get passed? It wasn't even on the agenda. Somebody walks it on, nobody got to talk about it, and I think the public ought to have the right.
Yeah, I see the wisdom in that.
I agree, but to walk it on takes an extraordinary vote. In other words, if I were to walk on an issue tonight,
Right.
for it to pass, it'd have to be an extraordinary vote.
Right.
So we're going to change it to, we do the extraordinary vote to walk it on before?
Well, you have to do the extraordinary vote to walk it on.
But before we have discussion on that issue that we walked on, we have public comment. Would you, okay, that way we have public comment to that walked-on agenda item, non-agenda item, before we make a motion and have discussion.
Okay, well, we need to incorporate those two changes into the motion.
Yep.
As long as the motion maker and the second agree.
And I would just add too that traditionally, I mean, we have tried to have public comment, but I think this formalizes the policy and would be better and more beneficial for the public and the council. So
Yeah.
I'd support it as well.
It'd be in writing that way. So you made the motion.
I have no problem with it.
Ray, do you have those
Right.
changes?
I have a question for Mr. Bagby, if I can.
Go ahead.
Just to clarify one thing. The new number 1, which is the proclamation, recognition, special presentation, is where we still allow the public to fill out a speaker form and do a presentation. We still allow that under number 1. Do you want that in number 2 now, or?
Well,
public-
we had Lance and Webb and I and others had this debate today. Are the or special presentations, would that also, if they are there, then I would say special/public presentations.
We can do
because-
that.
Okay,
Shall we
yeah, that's
keep
fine.
it
You
under
can
number
put it
1?
in number 1, but it should say special/public presentations, which is what I originally had, and then I changed it, so, okay.
So public comments, strictly
Right.
public comments, okay.
Okay.
All right. Ray, would you like to read the motion back to us now that we've been wordsmithing it before we take a vote?
The motion is to approve the new agenda template with the following changes. Under number 1, we have the proclamation, recognition, special/public presentation.
And just to clarify, it's really approving Resolution 2117 with those changes that Mr. Bagby
Right.
noted and that Mr. Destin incorporated into his motion. So-
Yes.
Is everybody good with that? All right, let's take this one to a vote.
Mayor, I've been pushing my buttons. We're supposed to have discussion after the motion's been made.
Yeah, it didn't come up on my thing, I'm sorry, so I
Okay.
didn't see no yellow. Now, we're still talking about it then if
Yeah, we
Ray,
gotta
just
have
clear
motion
the-
and discussion, and we had no discussion.
well, I asked everybody, just
Okay.
saying. I just missed you because it wasn't on there, I'm sorry, Roger.
You asked, and
I apologize.
that's fine.
Ray, can you clear it, please? And then, go ahead, Mr. Braden, while Ray's doing that.
I'm not sure about the whole public presentation, because I think the staff before, if somebody wanted to do a presentation, I mean, they took 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to do a presentation, so we kind of knew what it was going to talk about. So now it seems like if somebody wants to come up here and talk, if they need more than 3 minutes, they just say, well, this is going to be a presentation, and they take whatever they want. I guess it'll take 5 minutes, whatever it is, so I think there's going to be a real problem with that. And the other problem I have with walking something on the agenda that the public should make a comment or have a say-so in, that's how a tremendous amount of corruption was created in the city. Because the old staff they'd walk something on real quick, and it would pass that night, and people sitting at the house or, that wasn't even watching will find out, wake up the next morning and say, well, when did that happen? I get it, the people in here get to speak, but What about people that we walk something on? And I've always said that we shouldn't walk something on that the public should have an input or, at all on. If it's something, like I said in my comment before, if we made the boat ramp free to our residents, I think that's something we could walk on and vote on. But if something that they really need a say-so in and can talk about and discuss it, and know they like it or don't like it, and we're going to walk it on, I just got a real problem with that, because we had a bad problem with that with corruption and with them doing that, and then they would drop something on our lap and say that there was a couple changes in that last reading, first reading, nothing significant, but y'all go ahead and vote on it tonight for second reading, and kind of find out there was major changes in it. So I'm just leery of, of passing something that.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, Rodney, but that's why the extraordinary vote is supposed to protect the integrity and the honesty and of the council's action, because it takes a majority of the people to say that, yeah, this is something we can deal with tonight. They feel comfortable with it. But your points are well taken. On the issue of the presentations, that my thought process was along yours. I think what they've done in the past is, if there was a controversial issue and there was a person that was representing, let's say, a neighborhood, and they could speak like, I'm speaking for 15 people here, and these are our concerns during public comment on that particular issue, well, then I think traditionally we've allowed them more than 3 minutes. We've allowed them the 5-minute period, and that was the purpose of the blue card, correct, Ray? That they requested a presentation time limit, not the public comment time limit. Is that how it was done?
I'd like to clarify that presentation, what a speaker form is used. That request is made well in advance. As a matter of fact, in a resolution, it's noon on a Tuesday prior to a council meeting. If a member of the public wishes to speak on an item, most of the time, not on the agenda, we normally clear that with the city manager, and with his approval, we add that. But we require the citizen to submit a speaker form, and we add that speaker form to the agenda, and he then gets 5 minutes for the presentation, but it doesn't include the question and answer discussions among the council. So, but the presentation itself is for 5 minutes, but that's done in advance.
Okay, Mr. Destin.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100% on, but I guess if you could just clarify what this presentation, what we're trying, because I want the public to get all the time they want to speak. And I just don't want us to, and I don't want us to get in the habit of walking something on that the public really has a say-so in at all.
Sure, I'll respond. Number one, the public presentations, paragraph 7.1. Okay, it's already in the resolution. It's always been in, well, ever since I've been associated, probably not since Mr. Destin, but it's always been in the resolution. The public has the right to make a presentation. They have to submit to the city clerk. They have to get on the agenda, and that there's a process. There's always been a process. This doesn't change this. All this does is change the wording on the agenda in the resolution that puts the word public presentation back in there. Public comment / presentation. So that's all it does, is add that word back, because it's specifically referenced in paragraph 7.1 of the resolution. The second item, the super majority vote, 5-2 vote or whatever, to walk something on. You and I are in agreement. You have to have a super majority vote. The staff doesn't get to walk anything on, okay? They should never have. There's been a couple of instances, you're right, I don't remember any corruption, but the staff, the city attorney would bring something and say you have to approve this agreement or whatever. But for us to walk something on, what I've seen in the last 2 or 3 years is city council members walk things on, okay? There's a vote. There was no supermajority vote, but now we're going to get our processes back together. There was no supermajority vote. City council member walks something on, and the city council votes on it, and I'm sitting at home, or other people are sitting at home going, when did that get on the agenda, you know, and you're looking, it's not on the agenda, and the safeguards are, you have to get a supermajority vote, and you're right. If somebody is watching on TV when we pass the agenda or the changes to the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, which is where we should pass them, not when it comes to city council discussion time, and I might get in my car and drive over here because I want to talk on that item. If it gets added, it gets talked about separately. So I don't like walking things on. I don't like, you know, when people walk things on, you know. I agree with you. If we're congratulating Miss Destin or something, or making it free at the boat launch or whatever, that's, you know, I voted for your walk-on for Mike's hiring or whatever. I mean, yeah. But no, I agree with you on that.
We're just going to put the order back in the order. Mr. Destin?
That was basically going to be my comment, Mayor, that the extraordinary vote only applies to walk-ons that the council does, not the staff. And so, you know, that's one more level of safeguard, letting the public speak. I don't have a terrible problem with that.
All right, so you got the changes? All right, so we have a motion and a second, and let's go ahead, if there's no further discussion, let's go ahead and take it to a vote. Ayes have it, so moved. Lance?
Thank you, sir. Next up, Mr. Baumann is going to report on a temporary vacation of a council seat.
Thanks again, Lance. So I think I've spoken with all of y'all individually about this, but due to a temporary vacancy on the council, y'all will need to appoint somebody to fill that position. As we've discussed before, and many of you have seen, there's no particular process that you have to go through. Traditionally, you've opened up an application window, then voted at a subsequent meeting, and then had that nominee reconfirmed at the meeting after that, and then they take their seat at that meeting. So whatever process y'all want to engage in, discussion or questions you have, please feel free to ask.
Mr. Schmidt?
Thank you. Short time we've been here, going to do this a couple times possibly, but I'm glad it's less than a year. I know we did this not too long ago. Mr. Bagby joined us, and I know we've had some candidates apply and whatnot, and I'd like to just go ahead and make a motion to appoint citizen Bobby Wagner to fill the vacant position.
Second. Okay, well, that's Robert's rules. So, Ms. Hebert, you're up first. Oh, no, we have a motion in a second, right? All right, so we'll have discussion now. Go ahead, Ms. Hebert.
Well, I was going to ask if there's other people that were on that list whenever we selected Mr. Bagby, that we put it out publicly for people to apply again and bring in those folks, including Bobby, and let them basically go through the same process in that we pick somebody again from a group of qualified candidates, because I know there's a couple other people that didn't know that this would happen tonight. They thought we were going to do like we did the last time. So I was just looking at the bigger picture is give people an opportunity that want to do this to at least come in front of us. Because I was kind of subjected to somebody else got picked because I didn't know it was happening. So I feel like this would be like a quick thing happening when we didn't really advertise that we're looking for it.
I'm with you on that. I think in the interest of transparency and doing the right thing, I think that we ought to, this is the first meeting of November, give a time period for anyone that's interested in sitting in that seat, applying to that seat, to get their names in prior to our next meeting. And at our next meeting, a motion could be made from that list of candidates that have applied interest in the job, and then we can vote then. That way we're being fair to the public in general, and giving others an opportunity if there are others. Bobby may be the only guy that would like to sit in the seat, but I think that's kind of how we've done it in the past and the other things, and I feel like we probably ought to stick to that. I think it's a little bit more fair to those that might be not here that would be interested. Mr. Destin.
Thank you, Mayor, and I understand the logic behind your argument. However, last time we had how many people applied? Quite a number. And, you know, I already know at this point who I think would be the proper person to vote for, the guy that ran and that came in very close to winning. It was very close. And so I hate to waste the other folks' time, and that's the reason I would probably support the motion. It seems to me that the choice has been made pretty clearly and easily made for us by the last election, which was not very long ago. And we've got the gentleman who almost prevailed. So
All right.
it's an easy question for me, but if we do it the other way around, that's okay too.
Well, right now, the motion is to appoint the recommendation from Mr. Schmidt. Rodney?
Teresa, can you tell us who, did you know this wants to put in an application?
There's a couple of people that were trying to verify whether or not the time that they had served or have already on the books, would it preclude them from being able to come back onto council? And I think Kyle was looking into a couple of those, and we basically said it probably wouldn't happen until the next meeting. So that's kind of why I was like, I mean, I'm trying to be transparent across the board, you know, and I realize, you know, Bobby came in close to winning, but still, we're trying to be transparent. We want people that want a chance, you know, if they don't show up, then they don't show up, Bobby gets the job, but at least make it transparent.
I know Kyron mentioned he wanted a shot at it, but I didn't know if there was somebody else.
Mr. Schmidt?
I was just going to follow up, because I don't want anybody to think I'm not trying to be transparent or anything like that. It's just similar to what Mr. Destin said. I think there's additional staff time that's going to be added to doing this, like Mr. Destin said, and the transparency is there. It's an agenda item. It says temporary vacation of council seat. It says what exactly we were going to do tonight. Not that we were going to appoint somebody, but that the opportunity was here tonight. And that's just, so I'd rather just, if it doesn't pass, then, you know, I'm sure Bobby will apply and he'll do it again next time.
I don't see any other folks up there for discussion. Go ahead, Mr. Bagby.
Yeah, because I had, I guess, an interesting take on it. At first, I agree by the statute and by the state constitution and everything, it is a vacation. But the state statute mentions when the vacation occurs, okay? Not when the council discusses it. And the city charter really is fairly quiet on that matter. You could say it's ambiguous, but it's quiet. If you go by the state statute, then we would have to have an election. And then I thought about, well, you have an election, okay, and somebody spends $8,000 to win, okay, which is about what Bobby, I think he spent $8,400 last election cycle. And then all of a sudden, a month later, former Councilwoman Ramswell is acquitted or pleads to a misdemeanor and pays a $500 fine, and the governor lifts the suspension, and all of a sudden I spent $8,400 and now I'm back out on the street. So I don't want to go the election route. So then I thought about, well, what is, you know, last time there were some special circumstances. Number one, you had a former council member. Number two, you had a person that had run the previous election. Number three, you're only going to run for about 15 months, and guess what? Then you get to turn around and raise $8,400 or whatever 15 months later, so you can run again. And oh, by the way, if you won, you don't get to run. You can run next November, but you can't run in 4 years, which is what the charter precludes. So, you know, you're one and done, really, or one plus and done. I don't have a problem with the appointment. I do agree that we ought to open it up. You know, I acknowledge Bobby, you know, ran a great campaign. He got a lot of votes, but I think there are people that may want to be it, maybe former council members or whatever, and we ought to at least open up the process because, you know, when you've done this in the past, when we've appointed an interim, think about this now, based on, and I understood when y'all said, based on a couple of you, you didn't get appointed and the other person ran as an incumbent. You're going to give somebody who doesn't face an election a very significant advantage next November because they're going to be a council member for 11 months. And I'm not in that big a hurry. I mean, I think we can solve most of the problems the city have with 6 of us. So I'm not in favor of appointing somebody tonight I'm sure Bobby will apply. I'm sure we'll all, if nobody else applies, it's real simple, but we ought to give them the opportunity to apply. Thank you.
Mr. Destin.
Just a brief comment, and I understand all the arguments, and I'd rather err on the side of being fair and letting people apply, but the incumbency is a double-edged sword. Either it's going to help you or it's going to kill you, depending on what you do in 11 months, so I'm not really concerned about that one. But, I've learned fairly well to try to estimate how this council will vote, and my guess is the extraordinary vote will not prevail, which we could argue is the point here, so I would suggest the motion makers just have it at the next meeting.
Mr. Braden? And after you're done,
Yep.
if no one else, I'm going to go ahead and take our first motion and second to a vote.
I just wanted to clarify that, yes, it could be 11 months, but it also could be 30 days.
All right, we have a motion to appoint Bobby Wagner tonight, and a second. So let's
Just real quick, I wanted to clarify, and Councilmember Destin provided a good segue on the extraordinary vote issue. The charter requires that a majority of the remaining members of the council would appoint somebody, so it's going to require 4 yes votes to have Bobby appointed tonight. The mayor is not a tiebreaker in the situation. So just wanted to clarify that.
Everybody understand that? All right, let's take it to a vote. There's 4 aye votes. Mr. Wagner, congratulations. You will be sitting on this council for the next 11, well, we don't know how long. And that'll start the 15th.
Next meeting, Bobby, I'm going to swear you in unless you got somebody else. So.
All right, so we are done with that. Lance?
Thanks, sir. Item 4E is FDEM, state-funded grant agreement, and for a flood management project. Mr. Jeff Kozad, our grants manager and project manager, worked with Representative Maney and Senator Gaynor to get nearly $100,000 appropriated so that the city could purchase 2 pumps to use during emergencies and flooding. So what staff is requesting is that council authorize the mayor to sign this agreement between the city and the state to accept the near $100,000.
I'll make that motion to authorize the mayor to sign FDEM.
Second.
Do you want me to read it?
Got you cut off. It's good. All right.
Praise God.
I've got a motion, I got a second. Is there any further discussion on this particular item? Seeing none? Ayes have it. Vote is unanimous, so moved. Lance?
A few quick announcements. All city facilities will be closed November 25th and 26th in observance of Thanksgiving. For the record, I will be out of the office the week of November 22nd. During that time, Deputy City Manager Webb Warren will be in charge during my absence. Just so council is aware, the Destin tree lighting ceremony will be held on Thursday, December the 2nd at 6 p.m. at the Destin Community Center. We invite all the public and all council to be there. We are also looking at volunteers for advisory committees and boards. We have some council members who still need to appoint members. And we also have some current committee members who have been unable to fulfill their obligations. So we will be providing a list of those to the council member that appointed them so they can have a discussion with those individuals to see if there's anything we can do to help them stay on the committee or if they need to have a replacement. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, or Ray will be providing the list to us as soon as we get it updated.
Mr. Schmidt?
Thank you. I was just going to speak on this item, is that okay, Lance? Because I also, rather than on my name, since we're talking about it, I had talked about this today with them in our meeting, and I also requested from Ray last week some information about these meetings. I'm not sure if any of you guys had a chance to see it yet, but I asked staff today to, even just for me, I would like to know when my appointee is not there, sooner rather than later, rather than waiting a month or two for minutes to show up. that I might not see. Just to highlight, we've had one harbor CRA meeting in approximately 6 months. And I know we have a lot going on in the harbor. We have a moratorium that we're discussing on the harbor. It just seemed like, for one reason or another, there should have been more than one meeting. Not sure all the reasons, but I'm going to try to make more of an effort to stay in touch with my appointees. And I'm also asking if Lance and staff can keep me in the loop quicker so I can check in with them, because one CRA meeting and 2 public works and safety meetings last one, in 6 months. And now we're talking about the environmental committee that we might want to bring back. It's another committee we got to bring back. Well, we can't even do these. So I just wanted to speak for myself. I'm going to be making more effort, staying in touch with my appointees. And I appreciate the staff trying to come up with more ideas to keep us posted. So that's all. Thank you.
Mayor, may I address that?
Yes.
Okay, we have been tracking absences when an actual meeting is held, because 3 meetings were required to report to you so that you can take action on that individual. But our liaisons lately has been finding out in advance, like a week in advance, when a quorum will not be possible, so the meeting is then canceled. But we did not have a mechanism to find out which members made a commitment to attend, those who cannot attend, and those that were unresponsive. But we now have a form that we provided to our liaisons, and they'll track those information. They'll provide those to us, and we'd be glad to provide you a monthly or bi-monthly report so that you can decide what to do with your appointee. Is that okay?
All right, monthly's probably good. Ms. Abear?
I was going to also comment, same with Kevin, I talked to staff this week about one of my appointees. It's basically not shown up for 3 or 4. So do I then just reach out to that individual and just say, you're officially removed, and I'll find somebody to replace you, because you obviously don't want this volunteer position?
Just, there's a little process we have to go through. It's described in our LDC, or typically, if an individual's not making it to 3, 4, or 5 meetings, usually they typically resign. I don't think I've seen one that hasn't been the case in my 3 years here, 5 years.
Okay,
Yeah, we plan on reaching out
Yep.
to all our,
yeah. All right, so basically I can just call that person and say, if you're not coming, I'm going to go ahead and remove you next meeting and find an alternative, correct?
right, you can do that. But we also plan to reach out to all our current members and find out who can give the full participation, and or if they want to be replaced, and then they can resign as well.
And while we're in this aspect of the committee's report, Skip Overdare sat on the Economic Development Council, Economic Development Council's One Okaloosa's Leadership Council. I'm a member of One Okaloosa, and I've been to the last couple of council meetings. And if the council would approve, I would like to represent the city of Destin on the One Okaloosa Economic Development Leadership.
So moved. Second.
All right, we need to take a vote, I guess.
Anybody volunteer?
Yeah, okay, appreciate it.
Do we need to vote?
Yeah, you got to vote. We had a motion and a second. Ayes have it, so I get elected. Great. I asked for it. Hey, and on the last thing, Mayor Pro Tem, on December 2nd, I'm going to be in Kansas in the snow. If you could attend this lighting to represent our fine city, because I cannot attend. No. No skiing in Kansas. And you may have to, and depending on how that week goes, you may have to be Mayor Pro Tem on our first meeting the 6th. All depends whether, yeah, we're driving too, so that's going to be a challenge. All right.
Mayor?
Thank you, Lance. Anything else?
Yeah, 2 quick things. I was honored to be invited to the Snowbird ribbon cutting this afternoon at the community center, so the Snowbirds are officially back. Appreciate seeing Shane Moody and his crew there from the Destin Area Chamber of Commerce welcoming our Snowbirds back to town. So, and finally, to our Councilmember-elect Wagner, congratulations, and please reach out to staff if we can help.
Mayor, can I mention one more thing?
You may.
Okay. With Councilmember Wagner's appointment tonight, that leaves us with another vacancy for the Board of Adjustment. We now only have 3 members, and they cannot meet.
Find your
so-
replacement, Bobby.
No, the council member that
So if,
sponsored him will have to find a replacement.
If Mr. Destin, Mr. Bagby, Mr. Wagner, and Mr. King can find a replacement in a hurry, we'll be glad to.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have your marching orders? All right. Is that it, Lance? Okay, we do have some public hearings, so Mr. Bowman, you can go ahead and get this party started.
Sure thing. We have the second reading of Ordinance 2123CN, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida relating to livery vessels, providing for findings of fact, providing for a 6-month extension of Ordinance 2033CN, temporary moratorium on livery vessel permits, directing staff to develop recommendations for regulation of livery vessels, providing for severability, providing for expiration of moratorium, and providing for an effective date. And this is a public hearing.
And seeing how it's a public hearing at this time, I will open the meeting up for public comment on this second reading of ordinance 21-23CN. Come on up. You know the routine, sir. State your name, address, and you got 3 minutes.
Greg Fisher, 1242 Emerald Bay Drive. First of all, I just want to say congrats to Bobby Wagner. It's awesome. Ran a good campaign. But I'm not here to argue the moratorium. You guys all know where I stand. It's for 6 months. What I am going to talk about, because I wasn't able to come here the last couple council meetings, was that the taxpayers in Destin spent $250,000 on a harbor capacity study, and this council voted to approve a 53-slip marina. Now, I'm not against more private slips in the Destin Harbor. I think it's a good thing. But how can we vote on a 53-slip marina when we have a harbor capacity study that's, 6 months maybe away, and we couldn't wait? And then we have this moratorium that we're extending. I'm at a loss of words, to be honest. And I just feel like I need to say something, even though, hopefully maybe someone else will say something today, but I just need to get my words out. It's ridiculous. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I'm going to close the public comment period of this public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve second reading, ordinance 2123 for a 6-month extension, ordinance 2033-CN.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none? Ayes have it, so moved. Mr. Bowman.
Next, we have a quasi-judicial with Bowman Consulting on behalf of JPD Investments, Inc., requesting approval for a major development order. The project is located at 1021 Highway 98 East. The property is approximately 1.38 acres and is currently the location of the vacant Gulfview Plaza. The applicant is proposing a new 4,777 square foot single-story restaurant with a drive-through along with associated infrastructure. At this time, if I could get everyone who plans on testifying on this matter to please stand and raise their right hand. Yes. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth? All right. Thank you very much. At this time, starting with Kevin, we'll see if there's been any ex parte communications.
No, sir, nothing.
None.
None here.
No, sir, nothing.
No.
No.
Thank you, guys. Turn it over to Kim.
Louis Singuzzi will introduce it, or his staff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So as Kyle stated, we are here this evening to vote on a single-story restaurant located at 1021 Highway 98, which is the existing Gulfview Plaza. The zoning designation for this parcel is Town Center Mixed Use, as well as the future land use map designation. Limited service restaurant is a permitted use within this zoning district, and staff feels that this is a appropriate future land use designation. The project, as it's designed, does comply or exceed all minimum LDC requirements and comp plan policies. The applicant is providing one extra parking space, so as y'all are aware, in the MMTD, we have a maximum of parking, so the minimum that they would be required is 51, and they're providing 52. And as y'all are probably wondering tonight, the main issue with the existing Chick-fil-A is, of course, the traffic getting backed up on 98 and the drive-through stacking. And as you can see from your provided site plan, there is ample room for stacking at this proposed location. I believe there is at least 36 vehicle stacking spaces, and that's not even including the order point. So with that being said, staff does recommend that City Council approve Chick-fil-A a major development order. And there, as you can see, the applicant is here this evening to answer any further questions that you may have.
Do you have any presentation or anything, or just want to wait and answer questions if any arise? All right, well, I entertain a motion then at this.
Just a public comment real quick.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. This is a public comment period. Is there anyone here that would like to make comment on this proposal? There is none, so I will close the public comment portion of it and entertain a motion at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the City Council approve Chick-fil-A a major development order.
You got a second? Second. I got a motion, I got a second. Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you, and this might be for planner or possibly them, but engineering drawings, I'm not an engineer, am I seeing correctly that when you go through the drive-through, on the bottom right-hand side of this map, we got 2 lanes that are starting on the bottom right side, going all the way around the perimeter of the property line and wrapping around to the other side? Is that what I'm looking at? I think so. But, yeah. Sure. You didn't have to come up here, but
Go ahead and hit the button and just state your name for the public record so we know.
Hi, this is Jenny Baez of the Bowman Consulting, address 910 Southeast 17th Street, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33316. Short answer is yes, and the reason for that is that we have a one-directional line to enter the interior circulation of the site and a dedicated lane specifically for the drive-through.
thank you so much. I appreciate the answer.
Any other questions for the lady while she's up here? All right, you escaped any of that? All right, well, we have a motion, I have a second. If there's no further questions or no further comments, let's go ahead and take this to a vote. Vote is unanimous, so moved. Congratulations. You had an easy night tonight. Yeah.
Move it now.
Yeah, start tomorrow morning. We expect to see dirt.
We need it moved by Christmas, okay?
All righty then. We've already taken care of the consent agenda, so first up is Councilmember Braden. Take it away, sir.
I have nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Destin.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one item I wanted to check on tonight. When we approved that nefarious Marina a month or so ago, we also talked about maximizing or at least increasing the parking on Noriega Point. It seems that we are kind of stumbling toward that. No, DEP, I think, didn't want to pay for the new engineering, and I would just want to put on the next agenda so we don't have to have an extraordinary vote that we will set aside some money to accomplish that. Just a little bit of preliminary looking around at parks. Our new Leonard Destin Park down on Calhoun is approximately 45,000 square feet. It has 37 parking spaces, counting the loading. The park out at Noriega Point is 450,000 square feet, and it has, at the moment, less than 20. What's wrong with that picture? We can fix it. We just need to not delay, because I know DEP's in a hurry to try to get that park finished. Do we have a continuing company that does engineering for us, Lance? Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so
Kyle, would you like to kind of let us in on, we tried to get DEP just to designate a parking area and allow our own city.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of parties to this agreement, including FDP, and they had done the initial design work. The city since went back to them since that nefarious Marina, as Dewey put it, and asked them to redesign it in accordance with council direction, and they at the time have declined, and then they started reconsidering. We haven't heard back from them.
So that's still a possibility, I guess, huh?
Yeah, so we can certainly bring it back. It might expedite things.
Well, I know for sure that if we redesign it, it'll get done, and they always can have the option of reimbursing us, but we need to get it advanced, otherwise DEP is going to accuse us of dragging our feet on actually trying to provide parking for a park that's we've invested between the state and millions, and it would be nice to have a park that actually had parking, a new concept.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to comment, we do have in the current budget $350,000 budgeted for the road project, should we have had to take it all on ourselves.
Yep.
So I don't know that we need to add anything, we can just designate that
Well, I
towards-
would feel more comfortable designating some money and pressing forward, and I will make that motion at the next meeting.
Okay, so we get on the agenda. Okay, Mr. Bagby.
Well, I was going to congratulate Bobby, but he's already gone. So I'll congratulate the staff on the strategic plan presentation. And on the Marina, the question occurred to me, and I think y'all already answered this, but the 53 slip Marina, even though it won't be completed for 2 years, will that be factored in the capacity study?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
And all the other deals that we have that we're aware of will be factored in, yes.
Okay. Other than that, thank you.
Ms. Aber.
Thank you, Mayor. As the official TDC Tourist Development Council rep for the city of Destin, I went to the meeting this morning. Today is Monday, yes. So we had our meeting, talked about a lot of the wonderful things that the TDC has been able to manage, the monies, the spending, and of course, you know, even though a lot of places are flattening, we're still coasting along, and our, you know, tourists continue to come, and the Snowbirds adds to it now. One of the areas that we're trying to ensure that not only we advertise to citizens or the visitors things to do here, that we also make sure that our residents are aware. And so I brought this up with Jennifer Adams to make sure to get this sort of like on the website of things going on to do, to attend. And the Emerald Coast Theater Company has a lot of their plays and stuff. They're in Walton County, but as we all know, lots of people that come to visit stay from Destin to Miramar to Sandestin. So that's all Destin in any tourist mind. So we know it's Walton County, but we want to make sure that, you know, we let our residents also know that there are some wonderful shows that they're putting on out there in Walton County at the Emerald Coast Theater. December 9th, they've got the Miracle on 34th Street, and then they've got some other stuff coming up in January. The other arts that we have is the Northwest Florida Ballet. And I don't think people, even residents in Destin, know that we have a ballet company in Fort Walton Beach. They have a school that kids literally come and learn reading, writing, arithmetic, and ballet. And so they're going to be putting on the Nutcracker November 19th and 20th at 7:30 p.m. and on the 21st at 2:30 in the afternoon at the Maddie Kelly Arts Center. And I just want to make sure that we keep this as, you know, there's a lot of free things to do in our area. There's a lot of fun things to do. Some things cost, but I don't want us to forget that we don't also have arts and theater here. There's a lot of stuff that happens at Maddie Kelly's right off of Commons, but there's also the Maddie Kelly Theater in Niceville, which is part of our TDC dollars, and now that we've all incorporated, that it's all generated together. So just want to give a shout out to those two organizations because I think they are a little quiet secret lots of people don't know about, but they have some fantastic opportunities to enjoy some theater, and they're always looking for volunteers. So If you have any questions or concerns, you have anyone you want to talk to me about it, I've got the information for both of the owners for both the Northwest Florida Ballet as well as the Emerald Coast Theater Company. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. King.
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just wanted to get some clarification on the evaluation process for the city manager. Because we should be doing something now, I believe, and then in December, we would potentially be doing something at a meeting to recommend increase or whatever changes we're doing. So are we sticking with that schedule that we should be preparing for December to potentially do that? And that this would potentially be like the next year's cycle? So we should still have our meetings, and there will be an agenda item at the second meeting in December to propose or not propose something for the city manager. I don't know.
I
Lance
think
or-
with the changes that Jim is going to make a motion on at our next council meeting, it looks like the schedule is going to mean we'll start in January, in the following year. I just want to remind us, we haven't done one in 3 years, so another month's not going to really affect the overall operation of the
Well,
city.
on the new schedule, it says that we evaluate the city manager in August, and doesn't really say what the end result would be for actually making a change. So I just looking for clarification.
Yeah, no, that's for next year, okay? This year, we're on what was approved tonight, which is, and I told Lance today, I want your self-assessment, and give me 48 hours advance, and then I want to sit down with you. What I plan to go through is the management tools. I think that's a much better thing that was in the strategic planning, and say, okay, here's the critical priorities, how you did, how you didn't do. That's what I'm going to evaluate him on, not that other thing is bad. And then 3 things he believes he does well, and 3 things he thinks he needs to improve. And then I'll be prepared in December to do that. The one thing I won't do is turn it into the HR director. I'm sorry. I'm a bad council member, but I've been seeing these public records thing, and I wouldn't want my HR director getting my board's feedback. That's what my board president is for, and we don't have a board president.
So, and the mayor, I understand what you're saying. It's been 3 years, and which is, I get that. So do we, as the council, need to put an item on the second meeting in December, or is city manager or staff putting that item on there, and we're going to be receiving from HR before that meeting between now and then? I don't know. Right now, we just voted for a flow chart, and then we're just kind of up in the air, and then we're going to talk about Jim's thing next meeting, and another 3 years goes by, and city manager doesn't get evaluated. So I'm just, do I need to put on the second meeting in December, or is deputy city manager putting something, or is Kyle putting on something?
No,
This is the
Can I
meeting
just
that we're
speak
trying
to my understanding
decide
for a
these
second?
things. So I just,
Go ahead.
Just because I do want to clarify it, as kind of the point person on this, I really want to get it right. My understanding is that y'all are going to do an evaluation for this year, this December. So we can put on city manager evaluation second meeting in December. And whether it's under my name, under city manager report, I guess we'll figure that out at staff level at that time.
I just would like to figure out how to make it a more permanent process that a council member doesn't have to ask it to be put on the second meeting in December, and just somehow whoever's in charge of the agendas puts it on the second meeting.
My understanding is
No,
from
we
here
didn't
out.
do that. We did not do that, Mr. Mayor. So I'm sorry to.
Kevin, did
sorry
we
to
not
say
do that?
No, so you did adopt the resolution, but my understanding
That's
is
what
the
we
council,
adopted.
hang on, my understanding is that the council wants to consider the strategic sequencing chart, which will essentially amend the schedule. So then my understanding, and again, y'all tell me if I'm wrong, because I need to know, is that in August of the coming year, the city, either me or Webb or Nicole, we will put on another item that was city manager evaluation. Y'all won't need to ask for it. We're going to do it automatically. So that's my understanding. If I'm wrong, well, and I guess let me caveat that. That's assuming y'all adopt the strategic sequencing that Jim worked so diligently on at the next meeting.
So
Jim.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. It will be in the future, not this year, but in the future, it will be tied to the budgeting process. So if the staff is getting a 3% COLA and a 2% merit raise or a 1% whatever raise, then the council, that will be included in the budget process, his base, and then anything over and above that that the council wants to give him will have to be approved in September during the budgeting process, so that we don't have to go back, as we have for at least 20 years, and retroactively pay them back to October 1st when we approved it in December or whatever. So we can get this aligned. I'm confident we can, and it will become efficient.
And we are going to evaluate the city manager between now and December. That's what I wanted to make, that's what I was saying. We're still going to do it. That's not what we weren't doing. We're just going to get things straight beyond this next city manager report. Mr. Destin.
Yes, and Mayor, I simply want to point out, as I did at the last discussion on this issue, is the city manager is unique. He is not under HR. He serves at the discretion and pleasure of the council. And we keep trying to cram him over into that other box. That's not where he goes. Any council member can make a motion to triple his pay or fire him at the next meeting. Hopefully, there's going to be an evaluation process so he understands. But I agree with Jim, too, to make that public puts him in a category different than the other employees here, because we can't make their evaluations public, and nor should we make his. So I'd like to make this nice and simple and treat him just like an employee, but he's not. So, I'm happy to give him an evaluation, and I won't be turning mine in either. So the two older gray-haired fellows, with the exception of the mayor, won't be doing that. I plan fully to give him an evaluation, and we'll move forward from there. And then someone can make a motion to give him a raise if we think that's appropriate. Thank you.
Or like Jim Harbaugh, you get a deduction and spread that wealth out amongst the staff members, right? Yeah. All right, thank you, Mr. Schmidt. And next is me, right?
After you,
Yeah, no, we still got a couple reports here. Kim,
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Bowman.
Nothing, just a reminder to council, I think I've told you all this, but we've got the fishing fleet trial starting this Wednesday. So just want to keep y'all informed. I'm sure Kim and I will be calling y'all and tell you how it went. Probably won't get a result for, I'm guessing, a month or maybe longer. It can take a while, so.
We can't watch it on Fox? No?
I think there's different trial taking up Fox right now.
Oh, okay. Dang it. HBO. All right, thank you. Lastly, public comment. Anyone want to say anything? All of you, all three of you? Seeing none. I want to congratulate the council on not only doing a very good job and being prompt, but doing a tremendous job tonight. Thank you guys very, very much, and I hope to see you all 2 weeks from now. Meeting adjourned.